Welcome into the Sports Den. I'm Ryver Griffin, and I've got Ian McCune back in Denver from a trip to Louisville. How was your trip, Ian?
It was lovely. We did a little race, ran a little bit. Turned out okay.
Yeah. It was a half marathon?
Half marathon, the Louisville half. It was right down by Pope Lick Creek. Don't ask what the Pope's licking, but it was a gorgeous, somewhat rainy, chilly morning, but Louisville it's a lovely little town to beat, and if you're in there looking for a cheeseburger, go to Toasties. It is a wonderful smash burger.
Apparently there was a plane crash over in Louisville.
Yeah, right in Audubon Park. Drove through that area earlier that day.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, UPS or FedEx or one of those.
I believe it's UPS.
UPS crashed. Very sad and scary, and a lot of smoke can be seen for a long, long way.
Oh, geez. That airport's kind of crazy because if you go stand by it, it's like every 15 to 20 seconds there's another UPS plane going out. You never see any passenger flights going out.
It's a very busy airport for that. I don't know how it got to be that way, but it is.
I'm not going to nerd out. I know. But
Okay.
FedEx is in Memphis, not too far from Louisville. There's a reason for that. It's the population center of the country.
Okay.
Where in just about every direction, it's about the same number of people within the U.S., no matter which direction you go from, right around there.
That is a very nerdy number, I assume.
Yep. But the race went well. Is this your first time running a half marathon?
Yeah, it was my first. I ran just over 2 hours, 2 hours and 9 minutes. It had a negative split, so I averaged about 10:30 on the first half, 9:45 on the second, but I was doing 8:30s for the last 3 miles. So overall, pretty happy with the actual performance. Moving forward, and hopefully get sub 2 in the next one I hopefully run in the spring.
Nice. Did you get one of those 13.1 stickers for your car?
No, and I probably never will.
Yeah, okay, good. We can still be friends. I'm not much of a runner. I ran track, and I love that kind of running. And I like competing, so if I'm like in a race, I'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
I ran 7 miles earlier this year with my partner.
Mm-hmm.
I want to explain the story of why we did it. It's a long one, but we did it one morning, and I was just like, why? I'd rather be on a bike right now, truthfully. And I've never ran even the distance of a half marathon. I think 7 miles is the longest distance I've ran consecutively.
You might enjoy running in a big group of people because it is fun to pass.
Totally.
It's a lot of fun.
Like I said, if it's a race, which I have run several road races before, and then, like I said, in track, I have a blast doing that. It's just doing that. I probably should train for it, but I generally don't. Well, I'll train by doing other physical activities, but I'm not running. But if I'm like having to train by doing more running and I'm just out on my own or out with like 1 or 2 other people, that doesn't do it for me. Again, I'm always like, gosh, I'd rather be on a bike and I could use the same energy and go 3 times as far.
Biking is significantly more efficient.
Yeah.
I think we both prefer riding. But boy, it's easy to go train running.
Yeah.
Just literally walk out your front door.
Well, why'd you decide to do a half marathon, and why did you decide to go to Louisville to do it?
Family's from Louisville, so there was lots of opportunities to go see family, and then decided to do running because wanted to do a little cross training and knock off a couple things I haven't done. So kill 2 birds, 1 stone.
There you go. Well, your family being from Louisville explains why you were the biggest advocate for the Broncos signing Teddy Bridgewater back in the day.
But I was? I don't recall that, but sure. Yeah, we'll go along with it. I think I was more on the draft Lamar Jackson bandwagon pretty quick.
Oh, yeah, I was there as well. I loved Lamar. And both of us kind of cheer for Louisville Cardinals a little bit. I've been to Louisville several times myself. I think it's a beautiful city.
It is a wonderful city.
Yeah.
Lots of little curves and fun little places to shop. And one of the most beautiful parks you'll ever see is Cherokee Park, which you would nerd out quite a bit about.
Yeah, I don't think I've been there.
you need to go.
The campus is beautiful. The stadium, their football stadium, is really nice, and it's right down the street from Churchill Downs, which is kind of unique to have these two stadiums right next to each other that are vastly different stadiums. You see the basketball and hockey arenas next to a football stadium a lot. You don't frequently see a big college football stadium right next to the most famous horse track in the world.
It is an interesting city. It is put together in a lot of kind of quirky ways because people probably don't realize how old of a city it is. And it's not an East Coast city, but there are lots of things very similar to a lot of East Coast cities given the age and the architecture and just how the city grew up. Lots of fun little neighborhoods. Again, it's a lovely, lovely place.
Yeah.
And unlike Denver, it's affordable.
Yeah, I always thought Louisville would be a coolish place to live. It's got 4 seasons, but not like to the extent I would want. And also just like, I don't know if the people of Kentucky are my type of people necessarily.
You would find your crowd anywhere you go, I'm sure.
That's fair.
The bigger thing is it is cloudier in Louisville than it is in Seattle.
Oh, really?
So that's just a thing to be aware of.
I'd rather be in Seattle. As much as I love Louisville every time I've gone, I'd rather live in Seattle. Hands down.
It's still a lovely city to visit and hang out in.
Well, Denver's also lovely. We got a lot of amazing things here. We got the Rocky Mountains. We got some really cool neighborhoods.
We do.
Wash Park, the Highlands, Rhino. Some fun places to go. A lot of good food.
Lots of good food. I am going to remind you this is a sports podcast.
I know, but I'm getting a little carried away.
Okay.
I was just curious about your trip to Louisville. That's all, Ian.
It was very good
next time.
But I'm gonna jump to some frustration before we get into other topics about the Rockies really quick.
Okay.
Since you brought up other thing. Since you said the Rocky Mountains, I was like, oh, the Rockies. So the Rockies have passed on their 2 finalists for their GM or POBO, President of Baseball Operations. It was the assistant GM of the Cleveland Guardians and assistant GM of the Arizona Diamondbacks. And they decided to not go with either of them. So we are a little bit up in the air on what the Rockies are going to do leadership-wise. And we're starting to go like, hey, what's going on? GM meetings next week. They have interviewed multiple people, and we still have no kind of direct formal, this is where the Rockies are going to go. We have no POBO, we have no GM, we have no full-time manager. So, Rockies, Walker Monfort is leading the way. Let's have a plan before GM meetings or something relatively soon after, because the offseason's coming up, and there's not a single position of strength on the Colorado Rockies. So, let's move forward.
I gotta imagine they're just avoiding trying to have a GM before the GM meetings. Because have you seen the movie Dinner for Schmucks?
I have not. No.
Oh, the movie's about all these kind of elite, wealthy men who put together this party every year where they find the weirdest character they can find and essentially poke fun at them. I gotta imagine the Rockies feel like they're at a Dinner for Schmucks situation every time they show up at any league-wide meeting. Of like, people are looking at them a little differently, not taking them seriously, being pretty rude. That's just how I imagine it. But
I don't think the rest of the league is rude. I think Denver is the ones that are rude to them, because anytime that the Denver front office is described, insular is one of the first words. It's kind of like, that's not what you want. You don't want to be the worst team in the league and then have your front office described as insular. It means you're not trying to be better. You're like, no, we have what we want here. And it's like, clearly you don't. So maybe
clearly they do have what they want,
which is
but what they want is not the right priority.
Yeah. They want to be mediocre at best.
I don't know the names that the Rockies should be targeting for their GM search, but if I could pick an organization for the Rockies to try and grab somebody from, it would be the Milwaukee Brewers, who year in, year out have a pretty similar payroll as the Rockies do. Now, I don't know what the numbers look like in terms of investment in scouting and minor league coaching. Like, they could be spending significantly more money than the Rockies. But just on the number I do know, payroll, it is about the same. And the Brewers have obviously had a lot more consistent success in recent years than the Rockies have. And so why not try and go and get somebody who's coming from a front office with similar limitations, but they've been able to navigate those choppy waters?
I would take anyone from organizations like the Guardians, the Tampa Bay Rays.
The Rays would be great, yeah.
I don't need the Rockies to be a big spenders. They have proven that they will spend, but when they spend poorly. They spend poorly on Chris Bryant, Ian Desmond, lots of things like that. They give Arenado the contract, and then they pay for him to play for other team. So I don't need the Rockies to be the biggest spending club or even in the top half.
I don't think that will ever happen. I think they'll spend money, but they won't be like a top half spender.
Yeah.
They'll have a couple contracts that are big.
They'll have a couple big contracts, but I would much prefer a efficient farm system and free agency plans that build year on year and get us competitive. We're never going to be in the Dodgers, Giants, or Padres really even on spending, but we can build a consistent team if you fund the foundation of the franchise. So that is a GM, Pobo, manager, scouting, sabermetrics department. That it's a coaching development plans that are from minor leagues all the way up through the major. That it was like, this is how we operate. This is how we think you can be best utilized. And we give our players as much information and provide them as much opportunity to make themselves better. And then we don't worry about if we develop a player and they need a massive contract, we give it to them. We don't need to go out in free agency and sign people because that has not worked for the Rockies so far.
Yeah, I don't really even want the Rockies to target somebody from an organization, say like the Dodgers. You can say, well, the Dodgers have had a lot of success. The way they built success is not a practice that's going to work for the Rockies.
Yeah, because that takes development on both the minor league side and on the major league recruitment side. And let's focus on one before we can try to get both.
So if you're Dick Monfort, sorry to put you in this position, Ian, but if you're Dick Monfort and you're trying to go get a general manager, what even is your pitch to an attractive candidate that would make them actually want to be part of an organization like the Rockies?
Well, am I Dick Monfort or am I actually Dick Monfort making Dick Monfort decisions? Because if I was in Dick Monfort's position, it would be, I would find a Pobo I would find my top guy and say, I'm going to step out of the way. We're going to write budgets. Everything else will be underneath you. And then his job is going to be to find a GM and a manager that can work together and build out. And then it's going to be, I want to have a clear plan from single A and rookie ball all the way to triple A on how we develop people. That includes pitchers, that includes hitters are we going to be a power pitching team? Some people think that's the best way to go about it. Because when you're pitching at Coors, the issue is that you lose all the spin and you lose the drop. So is power the best way to go? Who knows? But a clear plan of we're developing people to perform at Coors Field. Coors Field is our biggest advantage and our biggest detractor. We have a sabermetrics department that is funded well, and you have a franchise that opens its doors for innovation. That's what I would like to see, is going like, hey, Pobo, build a franchise that can win consistently.
But if you're looking for somebody capable of doing that, why would they have any interest in going to the Rockies versus say, waiting for a more attractive job to open up. For example, a couple of years ago when Ben Johnson was the top head coach candidate for the NFL, and a bunch of teams wanted him, but he was able to say, no, I'm going to wait, and then the next year, chance to develop a first overall quarterback. Why wouldn't – I mean, in that instance, the Rockies are probably the team being told, no, I'm going to wait for a more attractive opportunity.
That is possible, but there's a lot of really smart people, and there's only 30 of these jobs. Eventually, somebody smart with ambition can see the opportunity there. The biggest turnoff for me is, if I was any of them, is how involved are the Monforts going to be? How involved is Walker Monfort going to be going forward? So if that continues to be a concern, I would expect more people to say no, because they've seen what becoming the Rockies GM looks like, and you're out of baseball after it, because everybody's like, well, you burn bridges because of what the Monforts do, and you don't want to get back into it. Or they don't. Other teams do not look at you as an undervalued asset. They look at you like, we're good.
Let's hope this is a page-turning moment for the Rockies, where they decide to operate totally differently than they ever have, and hopefully they get the right person for the job.
I hope so. At this current rate, I'm a little scared, because they've looked at 4 or 5 absolutely worthy candidates, and they've moved on from them. And
were those decisions by the Rockies or by the candidates?
To the best of my knowledge, that information hasn't come out yet.
Okay.
It was, the wording I saw was the Rockies passed.
All right.
So,
well, we'll keep up with this story, track it, and if any news comes from it, we'll certainly be having conversations about it.
Yes, indeed.
And let's hope it's not Walker Monfort.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's talk about other GMs, specifically George Payton. We'll talk about head coach Sean Payton for the Broncos, because yesterday the NFL trade deadline came and went. We have spoken for a couple weeks now about who some candidates we may want to see on the Broncos are, some positions we'd like to see target. They didn't answer any of those. They didn't make any deals before the trade deadline.
Well, I think they did answer.
Okay.
They answered with saying the market is too high or for us to go buy those players that we talked about. I don't know. I don't believe the Jaguars have a massive war chest of picks, and the Seahawks are at the brink of, they are true Super Bowl contenders. So it's like, I understand why they went out and got players. Indianapolis is on the brink of a Super Bowl, true contention, even though Daniel Jones is the quarterback. So it's like they really have to roll the dice this year and go with the movement. The Broncos, I don't think, are in that same position, even though their record is right there with them. It's the way the Broncos have been winning consistently kind of makes, like, I don't know if it's necessarily worth it for the Broncos to put all their chips in to make a win-now trade, because I don't think the return would be making them adding Jalen Waddle does not make the Broncos a true Super Bowl contender. Adding Chris Olave doesn't do that. Adding Garrett Wilson makes them interesting, but I don't think it makes them a Super Bowl contender. So they were like, is the amount of output we have to give going to be worth, does it actually change our destination? And I think Peyton kind of came down to the answer of, no, I don't think it's worth making a move.
So based on everything you're telling me right now, which I agree with you mostly, how do you think George Payton and Sean Payton view this team? What is the ceiling of the Broncos this season in the minds of the general manager and head coach?
Well, we know that Sean Payton, I don't know whether to say how we verbalized it at the preseason was Super Bowl worthy. I think George Payton is probably more of like, it's a playoff team for sure. And I would hope that he thinks an AFC championship game challenger. I think that's where you honestly have to settle in with, is like, if the playoff seeding breaks right, the Broncos could be in the AFC championship game. And at that point, it's a roll of the dice. You're on the doorstep of the big game, and you've done your job. You've put yourself in the position. Now you just got to play the game. Wild card, I would expect the Broncos to be able to win the wild card game if they're in one. And
I mean, there's a chance they're the first seed.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Broncos say they take care of business tomorrow, which Thursday games are always fluky.
Mm-hmm.
We know this, but they're playing the Raiders, who are now without Jacoby Myers, one of their very few good players. Let's say they take care of business against the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
The Patriots actually play a good team for once this season. For the second time this season. And
for the last time this season, probably.
Yeah, for the last time. I forget who the Colts are playing, but it's not a walkover.
And Daniel Jones started to look a little cracked.
Yeah, so like there's a very good chance even by the end of this week the Broncos are sitting in the first seed.
Oh yeah, it is absolutely a possibility. But that first seed, I think, just helps them get to the AFC Championship game. I'm still worried about what's going to happen there, because there's
probably going to be Bills or, another team like the Bills.
A team that plays for all four quarters. That's the biggest threat, is a team that is consistent and plays for all four quarters. I know we can play with anybody, but I think playoff is going to be different.
Sure.
Fourth quarter magic is going to be helpful, but it's not going to be helpful if Josh Allen got 500 yards and 4 touchdowns before you decided to turn the game on.
But, what if it's Broncos, they get the first, or let's say they don't even get the first week bye, they're the number 2 seed, and we'll call the Colts the first seed, and the Broncos get the draw of, like, the Jags and then the Steelers or something similar to that. And now you're in the AFC Championship game playing against the Bills. It's at Mile High Stadium, and maybe it's a snow game. Like, there's a lot of factors to throw in. I don't think they can't get to that point, though, by playing other teams besides, like, the Jags and Steelers, who I think would probably be more favorable draws than, other teams.
I think the Broncos' defense is a great leveler, and it's the biggest issue has not necessarily been the defense. It's been the offense being – last couple of weeks have been inept for the first 2.5 to 3 quarters, and then have turned it on. So, but I don't know if adding a David Njoku is someone who is linked with us, Jalen Waddle, Chris Olave. I don't think any of those players are what turns would turn the engine over any faster to get it revved up sooner in like the second quarter or something.
Sure.
Because what do we think? The issue comes down to Bo Nix performing in those first 3 quarters, would you say, or is it the run game?
I think part of the issue is definitely Bo Nix needs to get going. He has a bit of Tim Tebow to him in that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say even a bigger issue than that has been the play calling from Sean Payton, where he saves all his best shots for the fourth quarter. Well, when it comes to the playoffs, you're not saving any bullets. You're putting them out there. And so I think there is just even a chance, and I'm not trying to just put on the rose-tinted glasses right now. I'm trying to look at it from a very straightforward point of view. There's a chance that the play calling through the 4 quarters is just better play calling, more creative, and they're not so in the headspace that they can get it done in the fourth quarter, and they don't want to, show their hand.
So I got 2 questions for you on this. In that case, for the Broncos to get to that AFC Championship game we're talking about, which has been our goal for most of the plays for the year.
Yeah, I'd be happy with a playoff win. If you get 2, I'm ecstatic.
Yeah. So that means that we need to win the division. So that what kind of pressure is on the Chiefs game next week? And then how do we avoid overlooking the Raiders tomorrow?
So I want to answer these questions, and then there is another thing I want to circle back to with the actual trade deadline. As far as the Chiefs game goes, more so than its importance on winning the division, I think coming out and winning that game could be better for their playoff run, in that you're putting the Chiefs at 5-5 on the season. And now the odds are they're still probably going to make the playoffs after that.
They are the Chiefs.
There's a good chance they don't. Now it's like this conceivable point. It's not like in years past where they start out the season 2-3 and everyone's convincing themselves that the era is over, that the dynasty is over, and that they're not going to make the playoffs. Now it's 10 weeks they've played, 10 games they've played, and they're 500. It could actually happen that they're out of the playoffs. So I think that's the greater importance of coming out and winning that game. Because I think if the Broncos lose that game, I think you can pretty well pencil the Chiefs into the playoffs. You cannot do that if the Broncos win, though. And as far as overlooking this Raiders game, I don't think they'll overlook it. I do always have some fear when it comes to Thursday night games.
They're wonky.
I don't think they should exist. Just period. Too many injuries come out of it. I think we've talked about this on the pod before.
Multiple times.
But the reason I'm not concerned about them overlooking it is that, ironically, it's a Thursday night game, so they have a bit more rest before the Chiefs, where it's a short week, so it's like, all right, we got to focus on this game, and then you'll have a week and a half to look forward.
I'm really hoping that you can put away the Raiders early and then just control the game.
Totally.
But we can talk about that a little bit more. I really, really want to see... I want this Chiefs game to be the best played Broncos game of the season.
I couldn't agree more.
I think it is that important, because if we want the Broncos to do well, it has to be at a home field advantage, because the Broncos play so well at home.
Oh, and even beyond that, just it'd be so magical to see Mile High Stadium in the playoffs again. It's been far too long since we've seen that.
We are positioned better than we have been since Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
So I think this first game against the Chiefs is very, very important for the Broncos' playoff position.
So I want to circle back then now, because we've discussed where the Broncos are as far as contention goes, and you believe that Sean Payton and George Payton are kind of in this mindset that that an AFC title game appearance would be great, very successful in the season, not necessarily thinking of the Broncos as like one of those top 2 or 3 teams in the league to have a chance at winning the Super Bowl. Is there a chance, however, that by standing pat during the trade deadline, they actually have that much confidence in their roster that they don't see any weaknesses that are too great to overcome? Or at least any weaknesses that are fixable at the trade deadline?
I think they should feel fairly confident in where the Broncos roster is. There is not a question that you can't find so if my biggest question is, what do we do at linebacker? It's like, we have an answer for that. Dre Greenlaw could be that guy. He just needs a little bit more time. By the time we get to the postseason, he might be that all-pro level guy. What's the next question roster-wise?
I would say wide receiver.
Wide receiver? Franklin is coming on. Mims is still fairly electric. You have guys, and Bryant coming into the second half has started to be involved a little bit more. and Ingram has started to be involved a little bit more. So there are players that can fill positions of need and can do a really good job and have potential to do more in the second half of the season. Bryant and Franklin, I think, are two very optimistic things. We know what Mims can do. So, and the run game has started to really light up, and R.J. Harvey's
coming on big time.
Has come on. So it's there's weapons around Bo Nix to the point where it's kind of like, do we want to bring in other people to get in the way just because they've shown more? Not necessarily. So it's kind of like our two biggest concerns. Yeah, there are in-house answers. They're not in-house guarantees, but there's in-house, like, I could see that working out, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, when has there ever been a Super Bowl winning team where there's just no where the roster is perfect? You may see that in other sports, particularly basketball, like the Golden State Warriors during their dynasty of like every single position was a position of strength relative to league average, but that's because they're much smaller rosters, so it can happen. In football, you've got 11 guys on the field for your team at all times. That's a lot of positions to fill, and injuries happen a lot in football, so then you have to have the answers at depth. So no team has ever been flawless in football.
What I would say is, especially just within our division, the Chargers had a massive, massive need. There was a question that they could not answer from in-house, so they had to go out and buy a tackle. Chargers or the Chiefs, did they do anything? I don't believe they did.
Other than the Trevor Penning ad for the Chargers.
Oh, yes, the Penning. That was, sorry.
Yeah.
The Chargers went out and got Penning because there was like, there is no in-house answer to that anyone could palate. The Chiefs didn't go out and do anything because they just need a little bit more time. Most of the answers they have, you can understand. They've been to the Super Bowl how many years in a row now?
Is it 4?
Something like that.
Oh,
so it's like
gross.
Any question they have on defense or on offense, they feel like they have the answers. So, and the Bills were another one, right? There was
Bills didn't do anything. It was pretty quiet, especially from the AFC side, aside from one big team.
So the Bills felt like any questions they have, I kind of disagree with it, but any questions you have about them, they have enough to answer them. I wonder about their safety. I don't know if they have a top-tier receiver to really provide the extra spark for Josh Allen, because how much better is an elite quarterback if you give them an elite weapon? So, because what the Bills have done is they have Josh Allen, the best quarterback in the league right now. And they have just given him a lot of solid, average players, and he has raised them to perform at an above-average offensive level. But that's kind of where they're running to. They've kind of hit the ceiling of what they can do with their kind of talent around them.
Yeah, I mean, to compare it to a team we know well, it's like the Denver Nuggets. Mm-hmm. Now, Josh Allen is not as good of a football player as Nikola Jokic is a basketball player. And that's not to disparage Josh Allen. He's the best player in the NFL right now. But Nikola Jokic is transcendent. But we've seen...
Nikola Jokic has the potential to be a top 10 player of all time.
I think he's already top 10. I think he's got potential to be the top 3.
Championship. No, he needs more championships to get there. We can talk about this later. But
point is, we've seen what it looks like with Nikola Jokic, the ultimate floor raiser, with Jamal Murray being playoff Murray, and Jamal Murray being either completely out of the lineup because of injury or banged up and not 100% himself.
Or out of shape.
Although we haven't seen that this year.
Not yet.
But I think that's a hard one to say not yet for, because it's always in the beginning.
So it's true. It's always in the beginning. I don't know. Maybe an ankle injury. He's
right, why are we putting that out there? But yeah, we've just seen what it looks like. They've got the running game, But let's go through. I mean, you're already going a little bit through those top AFC teams now, but I kind of want to talk about who scares you most in the AFC post-trade deadline. And I already alluded to the one big trade that did occur in the AFC, at least for top-tier teams, that being the Colts. Pretty much everybody else stood pat except for the Chargers, adding Trevor Penning to try and make up for the tackle injuries they have. But the Colts, they went out. They were very aggressive. They added Sauce Gardner. Gave up a lot to do it.
A lot to do it.
A lot of people are hating on the trade, and I totally understand. I wouldn't necessarily be a giant fan of it if I were a Colts fan myself. But at the same time, I'm never going to fault a team for wanting to be aggressive and rewarding their team for the start they've had.
I don't see the downside.
I think the downside is people questioning whether they're a true Super Bowl contender or not, and then guess what? You're out of your first-round draft picks the next couple of years.
But Sauce Gardner is a good starting cornerback with talent enough to be elite.
Elite at one point.
Yes.
He's come back to
cornerback
a little bit.
Cornerback is a volatile position. He's had a couple rough years. But you can understand why he's had a couple of rough years. The Jets it's really kind of hard to motivate if you have no opportunity for true victory. So you can understand why Sauce Gardner might not have had the same issue. He might have had issues with the new coaching staff with Aaron Glenn, but it is a set cost. You know how much Sauce Gardner is. You know what his capacity is. You have a great defensive coordinator what is his name? I keep wanting to say the Chicago Bulls, not Bulls, Bears head coach, Eberflus. No, that's
he's Cowboys.
He's Cowboys now.
I don't know who their DC is, to be
he was the Cincinnati defensive coordinator last year.
Oh, and that old dude.
Yes.
I can picture him.
But
either way.
I will pull that name at some point. But he has that defense performing well. That secondary is very talented. It is a top 10 Lou Amarillo. Anarumo. So he is a very good defensive coordinator, very smart, as you can see by the drop-off in the Cincinnati Bengals defense since he left. So I would be optimistic. You're hoping that Daniel Jones is Baker Mayfield. You know, that's a lot to hope, but Daniel Jones
as far as career trajectory goes.
Yeah, because you're hoping that
I'm not hoping. Colts may be hoping.
Colts fans. Baker Mayfield was just as low as Daniel Jones was before he got to Tampa Bay. And Shane Steichen is a proven offensive coordinator, and Daniel Jones has answered every call. He looked a little wobbly this last week. You're hoping he can kind of get over that. But you already invested a top 5 pick in Anthony Richardson for a quarterback a couple years ago. It didn't get you very far. You can get Daniel Jones on a mid-tier contract, hopefully, and allow you to kind of take on and build the super team around him. Kind of what the Broncos are doing with what Bo Nix is kind of like. You have a set expenditure on the quarterback that's not going to be the highest paid quarterback in the league.
It's not prohibitive to building a good team. Right?
And then you just build around him and provide enough stuff. It's what the Eagles did for Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has clear limitations, but they're not so limiting that if you put enough talent around him, he can't win you a Super Bowl, which is what we hope
Joe
the Broncos.
Flacco with the Ravens.
Yeah, or the Joe Flacco with the Cincinnati Bengals. You put enough talent around the
guy.
That. Where was that Joe Flacco when he was on the Broncos?
Oh gosh.
But I'm a fan of going for it. Sauce Gardner, I think, could be awesome. I love great competition. And you gave up 2 first-round picks in Adonai Mitchell. Adonai Mitchell is a very promising receiver. But
he's got 152 receiving yards this year, though.
Yeah. But look at the Colts receiving room. Where is he going to fit in?
No, he's not.
Pittman is kind of the likely role where Adonai Mitchell would have gone, but Pittman's there. You have Downs. You have Pierce as your deep threat.
Mm-hmm.
Downs as your slot. You have Warren as your
really Tyler Warren's the best receiver at the tight end position.
So
with that, Colts, you love the move, adding Sauce Gardner. They're first place in the AFC right now, tied record-wise with the Broncos. Really only have that head-to-head with the leverage penalty. Who knew it would come this much into play this year? But
I hope that would be really funny if that was the biggest penalty of the year.
That's shaping up to be, but the Colts really the only aggressive team atop the AFC. Everyone else standing pat. Who is the biggest threat for the Broncos right now? Who are you most afraid of in the AFC?
The Chiefs.
Chiefs over Bills?
Chiefs over Bills.
Oh, see, I can't get there with Chiefs. I know we give them benefit of the doubt because they've proven time and time again, but this has been a weird year for them. They haven't looked – I don't think they've looked great at any moment in the season.
Nope.
I think a lot of people would point to their win over the Lions as like the turning point in them. They've lost since then, and the Lions have shown that –
they lost to the Bills too.
Yeah, they lost to the Bills, but the Lions have also had just like off weeks. They got killed by the Packers. They just lost to the J.J. McCarthy Vikings. So I have not at any point this season been impressed by the Chiefs and their one game over 500, 9 games into the season. This is not the turnaround that they've had in seasons past, and maybe it happens, and I wouldn't be surprised if that happens, but they haven't proven anything yet.
Nope.
And they have clear limitations throughout their roster. So I would definitely go with the Bills. Maybe you could answer the Chiefs just because they're a divisional opponent, and so the Bills can't beat the Broncos in their division.
Yeah.
So I'd understand that. And I guess the last question I really have for you, as far as this whole conversation goes about the trade deadline, which it's hilarious to me because I think it's really interesting to talk about the Broncos right now post-trade deadline, even though, and I think the whole AFC is really interesting to talk about post-trade deadline, even though almost nothing happened.
Yeah.
But do you agree with the Broncos' decision to not make any moves?
I do, but what I'd love to hear is what the price tags were on certain players. It's like, if much like Cincinnati being unwilling to trade Hendrickson, weird and just shows a front office incompetence to that entire.
You're telling me the Bengals front office is incompetent?
Yeah, the Bengals front office and coaching are only there because Joe Burrow. And it's kind of, Hendrickson is gone this offseason. He's signing somewhere else. So I don't know why they wouldn't back off their price, because it's like you've just wasted the talent, and you are not winning this year. You need reinforcements. Get as much as you can. But I'm optimistic that they looked at the pros and cons of what it would take to get Waddle or Olave or Njoku, and they were like, I don't think they add enough for what we're getting. So
sure,
I would think I'm okay. I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, I would say personally, I wish the Broncos had made a move. However, I do think they're far enough away from being a top-tier Super Bowl contender that they shouldn't be overpaying for players and trades yet. Now, the very top contenders, say the Bills, they can afford to overpay for players, maybe give up a second-round pick for a player that's really only worth a fourth-round pick. But a team like the Broncos, who are still building and still developing Bo Nix, which is the ultimate key to be able to actually win a Super Bowl, shouldn't be overpaying in trades just because they have more progress that needs to be made.
I agree completely.
Sweet. Well, the Broncos, you will get to see this same-look Broncos tomorrow night against the Raiders at home. Do believe this is one of their throwback Orange Crush uniform games.
Sad to waste it on the Raiders.
No, it's rival. I think you have to do it against the Raiders every season.
What I want is Seahawks in their throwbacks.
That'd be fun.
With that silver helmet and I think that's
former AFC West opponent.
So Seahawks Denver in a throwback game, that would be Jersey Nirvana for me.
So Broncos Raiders at home, Mile High Stadium, nationally televised game, short rest week, fluky, always is with the Thursday night game. That being said, the Raiders are garbage. They're always garbage. Even when they're good, they're garbage because they're the Raiders. But they're, bottom 5 team in the league?
Seemingly, yeah.
Worse than bottom 5?
Yeah. Well, no, I don't think. I have a hard time
Jets
arguing.
are probably worse.
Jets are probably worse.
Titans?
I'd put Titans are worse.
Titans are worse, but I don't think by much.
Yeah, it's in the.
The Raiders did beat the almighty Patriots.
Yeah,
who I don't take seriously at all.
I take them seriously in that they will be in the playoffs.
They'll be in the playoffs. I don't take them seriously beyond that, but that's only because they have a cupcake schedule.
The Raiders have multiple positions where they have elite level talent. They have the best tight end in the league.
Not this year.
Well, Bowers has been injured, but after
sure,
I expect Bowers and who would you say, Warren?
Oh, I'm not saying he's not an elite tight end. I'm just saying this year he has not been the best tight end in the NFL. I'd say Tyler Warren has been the best tight end.
Performance-wise, yes, but I think over the second half of the season, I would expect Bowers, especially if they keep building the offense around him, which is 100% what they should be doing.
Where else do they have elite talent then?
Max Crosby.
Is he elite?
Yes.
Or is he very good?
No, he's elite. I think everyone in the league defensively would agree that Max Crosby is an elite.
Okay, so he has like 3 elite games every year, and then the rest are just fine. He is like, you want to talk about inconsistent players, he'll go off for a 4 or 5 sack game, and then the rest of the year he just goose egg. Oh, here's another 3 sack game.
That might be fair. I don't know enough about defensive line, but what I do know is every time I've heard a player talk about Max Crosby, they view him as an elite defensive end.
Good for them.
I'm going to continue with that view. It's like Max Crosby I do view as an elite defensive player.
Okay. But they're a garbage team. What's the final score for this game?
Well, I think what we do need to talk about is what do the Raiders really suck at? And that is run defense. So that's where I want the Broncos to control. I want to see J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey control this game, and I want a team performance from first quarter on. I do not want any fourth quarter heroics. I do not give a crud about the score as long as we're in control. I'm going to go with 21-10.
Wow. That's low. That's low scoring.
Watching how our special teams goes.
Oh gosh, it can't be worse than last week.
I very much could. It could be. It's a Thursday, less prep. So I'm just. I'm expecting the Raiders to get a touchdown somewhere.
Yeah, I think the Broncos are getting at least 27, 28 points.
We've said that multiple times, and those are the games.
Have we said that though? We've predicted that they will, but I don't think we've ever had the expectation that this will happen for certain.
Well, the Giants we thought was going to be big. The Jets we thought
they scored 33 points in that one.
Oh, that is fair. But
Jets, we said it's the London game, and that we expected it to be weird, and nothing ever looked good during that game.
So I'm expecting it to be low scoring and weird because
sure. I think it's going to be weird because it's a Thursday night, but the Raiders are terrible and the Broncos are amazing, especially when they're playing in those uniforms.
I hope so.
So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to give the Broncos 31, 10 more than what you're giving them, and the Raiders 16.
You're giving them 16?
I hate the Raiders so much.
Or is that 3 field goals and a touchdown? Or
Yeah, I don't even know. I screw the Raiders. It'll probably be it'll be something weird.
It will be
weird way
something
for
weird.
them to get there. All right. Well, let's move on. We'll talk about the Nuggets. Not too much has really happened with the Nuggets or Avalanche this past week, but I think we're far enough into the season now with the Nuggets. 6 games in, so nothing crazy, but far enough in that we can start to notice at least a few trends. And so I want to kind of discuss, what do we know to this point in the season about the Nuggets? And I think there's still a lot for us to learn, but there are a few things out there that I think we've learned. And I'll go ahead and start this off, and it's the easiest thing to notice. It's that Nikola Jokic is still the best player in the world.
Yeah. He's what I'm excited about. Okay. Jokic has been awesome. He has been versatile in what he's doing. He's moved the ball beautifully, as always. He has been efficient scoring, and he has been the best player in the world, and he hasn't had to do the massive kind of points carrying that he had to do the last couple of years because Jamal Murray and Gordon have stepped up their scoring, which has allowed Jokic to be available in other ways a little bit more. So it's a very exciting, but I think the biggest thing to talk about is the kind of the floor raising of Gordon and Murray, allowing Jokic to be still as dominant, but less on his back. So hopefully it lasts a little bit longer.
Yeah, but to touch on the point you're making of Jokic hasn't had to do the carrying of the team this year, because I think the depth is showing. He's still got that punch when he needs to do the scoring. Not that he needed to do it the other night against Sacramento, but he decided he wanted to do it. He put up 34 points and with ease.
Yep.
And so he still has that there, and we know it. His assists have been high. That same game, he had 14 assists. Super impressive. Rebounding's been off the charts other than the last game, which was a low rebound total. And real quick before I get too into it, just because I don't want to forget this point, I don't think I told you about it, although maybe I had. I decided, definitely want to be following us on social media. On Instagram, I decided to do a game log for the Nuggets. And so I did that for the Pelicans game. So if you're interested in following along, getting an analysis as games go, I think I'll probably do a little bit more of that for the Avs, for the Nuggets. It's not going to be every game just because it's hard for me to do that every game. But
and if we ever
it sucked that it ended up being against the Pelicans, because that was the most boring game ever.
Talk about a team that is thrown in the towel.
Oh my! Like not even 5 games into the season, and they did. But yeah, Gordon I think has been interesting. He had that huge first game against the Warriors. Since then, I don't think he's been all that good. He's had moments, but he's been inconsistent, to say the least. Am I worried about him? No. It's Aaron Gordon. He'll forever be a king to the Nuggets, but there's just enough depth that he can be going through a little bit of a rough stretch. Cam Johnson can be going through a bit of a rough stretch. Christian Brown had a good game against Sacramento, but prior to that hadn't really had a good game yet. And yet still the Nuggets are winning with ease because there's so many pieces. If the Nuggets had one of their main guys last year going through a rough stretch, guess what, Jokic? You're playing 40 minutes tonight, and we hope that we can win this game. That's not the case so far this year.
Nope. It has been consistent. Tim Hardaway Jr. has been just electric. Can we get how much? Is there a world where he could be up for 6th man of the year?
Ooh, I don't think so, but I like you asking the question.
Yeah.
I think if anyone on the Nuggets was going to win Sixth Man of the Year, it'd be more likely Big Val. And
he's not going to get enough minutes though, probably.
Probably not, but I don't think anyone on the Nuggets is going to win Sixth Man. And Tim Hardaway Jr., I'm waiting for the pendulum to swing where he'll have a handful of games in a row where we're just pulling our hair out.
But with that, it's Julian Strother starting to step up with his reduced role, allowing him to find a little bit more consistency. So hopefully we can kind of use that as those two can bounce off each other. We can really follow the hot hand with both those guys. That'd be great.
Yeah, and you just hope if one of them's not going, the other one is in their bag and playing really well. And if that's the case, then holy cow, this is going to be an amazing season for the Nuggets, which we already think it will be. But yeah, Tim Hardaway Jr.'s had a fantastic start to the season. I believe it was the Timberwolves game was his really first game where it was like, oh wow, we can see what he can mean to the Nuggets at times. Bruce Brown had a really good game this last game.
Bruce Brown knew his role coming in, and he's performed his role, and I've got nothing more to say to Bruce. Just keep doing you, and I think it's going to work out well for us.
Oh, man, he had the one play where he got to the rack, got fouled, and one opportunity, and I believe it was Dennis Schroeder that was there, and he is just barking in his face, and it got Schroeder all pissed off, and Schroeder coming back and, talking shit face-to-face right there at the free throw line. I was like, that was what Bruce Brown's supposed to be doing.
That's what Bruce Brown is supposed to be doing. Dennis Schroeder, remember how good you were for Germany? Yeah, now you're on the Kings. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying.
Worth pointing out,
chill.
The best player on the Kings the other night was Russell Westbrook.
Is it worth pointing out? I'm happy for Russell Westbrook, and I hope they enjoy I hope he enjoys whatever contract he got, but it's the Kings. I do not care one little bit.
Well, I'm just saying, and I don't think it's all that surprising. I mean, you'll probably remember last season, the first time the Nuggets beat the Lakers, and Russell Westbrook had a great game against the Lakers and was barking at all the fans, yelling profanities at them. That felt pretty good as a Nuggets fan. I loved that.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't feel any animosity towards us. He shouldn't, right? He shouldn't.
I don't know. In one of the interviews post-game in the locker room, he did mention that the Nuggets asked him to decline his player option because they didn't want him back.
And they were right to do so.
He was good for the Nuggets. I don't think we should forget that. I think it's right for them to have moved on, but for a vet minimum contract last year, I don't think you could have asked for a better player, someone who did more for the team. And sure, there were the lows, but he helped the Nuggets win that Clipper series, and then he broke his hand and, of course, wasn't as good against the Thunder, but what are you going to do?
You're going to let a player like that move on, and that's good. I hope he finds success.
Totally.
But let's jump to Cam Johnson real quick.
Yeah.
Instead of going down the drain on a Sacramento team that is going down the drain.
One more thing I'll point about Sacramento is you could absolutely see it with Neat Clifford. Go Rams, tear him asunder.
Okay.
He is so sticky on defense still at the NBA level. I mean, Murray had a hard time shaking him last night. So impressive. He left the game late with 5 fouls, so he definitely got into foul trouble. He's a young player, but once he's fully developed in the NBA and he's got that 3-point shot, he's a good playmaker. He's not going to be a 25-point per game scorer, but he can get the ball moving. Great connector, great defensive player. If the Nuggets had a first-round pick this year, I think he would have been the exact player they should have been targeting.
Okay.
And so I'm going to continue to root for him. Go Rams.
Go Rams. I think one of the only concerns we have from this early season for the Nuggets is Cam Johnson's slow start. All the other additions have slotted in and been kind of exactly what you would think they would be. Valanciunas has been what you want. He's been a really solid backup center.
Absolutely.
Bruce Brown has been the kind of spark plug off the bench, has been in people's faces, has been productive. Tim Hardaway is hitting shots right now and put other players kind of in the roles they were supposed to be.
And not as bad defensively as I would have imagined. Now, he's not a plus defender, but there's been times where he's been exactly where he's supposed to be in the rotation defensively. And so from a guy who's not going to be a lockdown guy, that's really all I can ask for.
Absolutely. So Cam Johnson is the addition that has been kind of frustrating. And I think a lot of that comes down to is just the shots aren't going in, right? I think defensively he has been a plus. I don't think he's been a significant upgrade as of yet visibly from what Michael Porter was last year defensively. But I think you can clearly see that he is a little bit more engaged and a little bit more of a part of the team defense. Offensively, he is moving and taking shots still, but they're not falling. One of the big things I think were kind of the biggest concern we have about Cam Johnson is he is not driving to the hoop as he was last year. The Nets, he was averaging 10 drives a game practically, and now he's like 3.5, which is what Michael Porter was.
I'm fine, though, with that number. I don't want him to be the guy driving the offense. I want him to fit into the offense.
Mm-hmm.
What I would say for Cam Johnson is that first, there's 6 games into the season. That first 4 games for Cam Johnson, he looked out of place, looked like he was constantly processing, not moving quickly, not fluidly, looked like he was trying to find his place in the offense. Now, in the last couple of games, he's started to get there. Looks like he knows where he's supposed to be. Still not identifying it as quick as he should be. And you can still tell there's a lot of processing going on. And that slows your game down, makes it harder to hit the open shots. And so he's still not hitting those shots. Has not been a good starter for the Nuggets yet. But you can start to see a little bit of this progress made. And I think once it is fully flowing for him and he's not thinking about every little move he's making, and it's going to be a lot easier for him to start knocking down those shots. And defensively, I think his defense has massively improved over the last couple of games. Not to say it's been incredible, but in those first handful of games, it felt like he was getting blown by constantly or losing a guy in transition.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't think he's necessarily losing guys in transition. And over the last few games, he's just made a handful of plays here and there that you go, oh, that's a really good play. I can see it. One of them in particular, it was a bit of a bad pass in transition, goes over him, tips it, it's going out of bounds. He makes a diving play to keep it in, and I believe it was Bruce Brown hits a 3 off of that. That's 3 points that should have been a turnover that he saved right there.
I think the biggest thing you can take of any player that's starting and playing with Jokic is going to be a plus and plus or minus. But even with Cam Johnson not hitting, he is still I think a plus 11 for the season, which is a really good place to be. And a shooter, as long as he keeps shooting and doesn't back away from his shot, I'm good with him. Just keep going. Those shots, his work ethic will fall. But do you want to jump to a couple Avs updates real quick?
Sure.
So I've got a couple questions for River. One, we'll go with the Marty Necas signing.
Oh, yeah. I guess that has been since we last spoke. And yeah.
So 8 years, $11.5 million, only half a million less than what Rantanen signed for with Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
I have one thought I'm going to say on this, and then I'm going to let you go. I think the numbers that were being said about what Rantanen wanted when he was in Colorado are significantly different than what he signed for in Dallas. There was speak of some numbers like 14 a year, which was just not going to happen for the Avs, or even 13 a year probably wasn't going to happen. I think if Rantanen was willing to take 12 with the Avalanche, I think that contract would have gotten done. But because of that, I think the Avs made a solid move and got Necas, who looks awesome, and got him for 11.5 for 8 years, signed him up through his entire prime. I think this is a really good contract. With the cap, it looks like it's going to continue to go up. It's not going to be a bad deal at any point. I think it leaves the Avalanche with plenty of room for Makar. So what are you thinking, and what is your high spot been, or what has made you most optimistic about the pairing of McKinnon and Necas?
They clearly know how to play with each other. They're both really great on the rush, really great at zone entries. It's just something we take for granted as Avs fans, is that you've got these two phenomenal zone entry players, which is not an easy thing to do in the NHL. What you're missing with him instead of Rantanen is that Rantanen shot is just ridiculous, where on the power play when it finds his stick, he's going to pick that corner. There's just so many plays that Rantanen can finish that at a rate that not many guys can. I see this deal getting compared to the Rantanen deal a lot. And it's weird because Rantanen is absolutely a better player than Marty Necas. Marty Necas is a really good player, though. Only 26 years old. He'll be 27 come January. Mm-hmm. So still really young. Like you said, I think this deal is going to look great over the next 8 years. I don't think we're going to have any questions about the deal. And given the situation the Avs found themselves in, this was the right thing to do. Even if you make the case, which I think you're well within your rights to make the case, that they screwed up the Rantanen thing. Mm-hmm. Don't screw this one up.
Nope.
If you're playing baseball and you drop a pop fly, don't hang your head and then miss the throw after that.
Mm-hmm. You keep moving forward.
It's a sunk cost. Do what you got to do. And I think this was the right thing to do, and at a number that I really, really like. Do I like it as much as, say, Logan Cooley's 8-year deal with the Mammoth? No, but I don't think there's going to be any contracts as good as that come out in the near future.
Well, and Logan Cooley's younger and has not produced as much as Necas has. So you kind of understand why Necas got the deal he got. But my question now is, now that we know what our top line is going to be, it's going to be Lehkonen, McKinnon, and Necas. How are you feeling so far? We're just going to go through the lines real quick. What is your feeling on what that line's doing for the Avalanche?
Well, if we isolate it to just last night against the Lightning, a 3-2 win for the Avalanche, mm-hmm. The only players in the minus for the Avs were McKinnon, Necas, Lehkonen, Makar, and Taves. So clearly terrible. The Avalanche are doomed.
We've invested poorly.
Now, isn't that weird, though? Those are the only guys in the minus, and it's your top 5 players.
Yep.
I love that first line. Like, what am I going to complain about with that? There's nothing I can complain about with that.
So it's a rush forward line. It is going to be super aggressive. It's going to be super fast. Lehkonen does a really good job of being where he needs to be.
And he's the forechecker of the line.
So it's an awesome line. There's been some movement throughout the lines last couple game where Landeskog has dropped down to the third line with Drury and Olofsson. bringing Ross Colton to the second line.
That line had 2 goals last night.
It did. So I was going to ask, what do you think Ross Colton brings to that second line with Brock Nelson and Valeri Nichushkin?
Well, Ross Colton did have a goal last night.
Mm-hmm.
It was 1 from Ross Colton, 2 from Olofsson, who's
on
getting
fire.
Going. Yeah, no kidding. 5 goals in the last 3 games, or just 2 games? No, 3 games.
3 games. Yeah, his hat trick was 2 games ago.
Yeah. I mean, clearly something worked in this attempt. I'm not confident in what Ross Colton is. Last year, he got off to an incredible start. At one point, I believe he was leading the NHL on goals. And then he got injured, went quiet, and has pretty well stayed quiet since then. He can be decent on the forecheck. He's a good skater. I need to see more from him, personally. I don't think he's going to get back to that point he was early in the season. But I'd love to see him playing with Logan O'Connor when LOC is back healthy again, because those two, when they're playing together, stuff happens, and you feel really good about it. I like the Avs where they're at. I'm confident in this team. I've said it time and time again. I guess the one weird thing is they don't know how to win games in overtime, which is something that they've been dominant at. Like last season, it was like halfway through the season before they lost a game that went to overtime, and now it's seemingly looking like it's going to be the opposite.
Yeah, because what is our overtime? Who's on the ice for us?
Well, I mean, it's going to start out with Makar, McKinnon, and Necas.
Which, well, this is my point. Is like, how many other teams can put that strong of a 3 on the ice?
I don't know how. You could argue Edmonton,
Draisaitl, McDavid, and Bouchard.
Which significant drop off at the defenseman.
But I would then who else?
But like Draisaitl is obviously a significant improvement on Necas. I don't think anyone else can, but you're also not going to expect to score a goal in your first shift in overtime every time.
No, I'm just going like...
I'm not concerned about their performances in overtime.
That's what I'm going for.
And when it comes to the playoffs, it's just 5-on-5 anyway. It's not 3-on-3.
So I expect them to kind of figure it out, given the kind of length of the season. It's kind of like they might take a little bit of time. Necas still hasn't played a full season with us yet.
I don't even think there's anything to figure out. I think it's just kind of a weird early season stat.
Okay.
The power play, which has gotten going, playing much better now, I think that was something to point to and say they need to figure this out. Overtime, it's not anything that they're going to figure out. The law of averages are going to play out, and they're going to probably their next 5 overtimes win them in the first 30 seconds.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
So my next question is, I think Brock Nelson clearly is been solid for the Avalanche, but I do worry about his speed. He has looked slow.
He also plays on the fastest team in the NHL, though, which you could say, well, you need to play fast, but I don't think he's a slow player. I think it's just if your eyes are adjusted to Cale Makar, Nathan McKinnon, Marty Necas.
Well, it doesn't worry me. I would be totally fine with Brock Nelson going any further as our 2C. He does have a no-move clause for the next 2 years, so I don't expect him going anywhere. But I'm just wondering, is there anyone we'd start looking at to see do you think Brock Nelson is a number 2C to win? Okay, you do?
Yes, absolutely. I absolutely believe he is a cup-winning 2C. I think that's a point of strength for the Avs as the 2C. I would be looking more for a 3C, so Jack Drury can bump back down to the 2C. Not that I'm worried about, or 4C, excuse me. Not that I'm worried about Jack Drury. It's just he slots in so perfectly as a 4C, and then it allows you to have another point of strength. One guy I may look at who has been the lead scorer for their team that is going nowhere. They're probably going to be big sellers at the trade deadline. And, oh, by the way, he's familiar with some other guys. Would be a guy I took very highly in our favorite Colorado athletes draft, Nazem Kadri.
So Kadri is making about $9 million right now, I believe.
You can retain in the NHL.
You can retain.
And that's what the Avs would require.
But we would have to move somebody to make up. Because I think, postseason-wise, if I look at Puckpedia today, we have $10 million in cap room. Regular season, it's less than $1 million. Is a Girard trade, because they're probably going to be trading Anderson, so they might need a power play quarterback.
I don't want to move off of Girard. I think you've got the depth to be able to do so, but I wouldn't trade Girard personally.
So in that case, we'll have more talks.
I think we've got a ways to go till the trade.
Well, let's build this out. You want him as a 3C. What does that actually do for a lineup? So that would be keep our top line with Lehkonen, McKinnon, Necas. Second line would still be Brock, Nishushkin.
Yeah, I don't got to tell the biggest Victor Olofsson fan in the world that he should be excited to see Olofsson playing with Kadri at
Kadri, Landeskog, and Olofsson. That's fun. That's great. That's a worthy third line.
Very worthy.
Well, it's a fun thought. It's a fun thought either way.
I wanna circle back to this as we get further into the season. I think Kadri is a legitimate option for the Avalanche. I think he's a legitimate option for a lot of teams, unfortunately.
I think Toronto is going to be much more desperate than the Avalanche are and willing to overpay, because I think they're going to be very disappointed with how their season goes.
I'll have to look at Kadri's contract. I hope he's got a no-move clause. And ironically, I think he would turn down Toronto. He's been there. He's been with the Avalanche. And if he has his pick of it, I think he's absolutely going back to the Avalanche, despite being from Ontario.
I would hope so. We'll see.
I'd be willing. Well, I think that's going to do it for the pod. Fun one. Got to talk all three teams again. Well, all four, because we got to cover the Rockies. So be sure to tune in weekly. If you're a Denver sports fan, this is the place you want to be. Check out the pods. Even if, say, you're a diehard Broncos fan and you're trying to learn a little bit more about the Broncos throughout the season, but you also are curious about one of the other teams, we talk about all of them here. It's a great spot to be, and you can check us out on Spotify, YouTube, and definitely keep an eye on Instagram as well, because like I said, I'm going to probably be doing more of those game threads. Good way to stay up to what's going on, and you can join in on the conversation, ask the questions of, I'm happy to answer questions in the chat and get some other conversations rolling. But yeah.
We're trying to build a once a week, easy to kind of understand where Denver sports is. So you don't have to listen to 5 different podcasts. You can listen to one, and we'll get you as much information as we can and get you prepared for the weekends. Yeah, and it's always fun here. So stay tuned. Broncos tomorrow night. Nuggets tonight. Playing the Heat. Yeah, I might try to go to that one. We'll see. I'm going to watch. Yeah, I don't think tickets will be all that expensive. Hey, the Heat have been really fun. They've been really fast-paced, so they should be very exciting to watch. Yeah. So maybe I'll be at that one. We'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.